Hey everyone, it's Deja with Knit and Crochet Ever After, and today we are making this slouchy beanie, what I have on here and what I have here. So this is a knit beanie using some pretty simple stitches, but maybe one that you've never tried before. So it's going to give you something new to try out, but it's going to create this really cool slouchy beanie effect with some bulky yarn. So get the pattern below and we'll talk a little bit more and get started. So like I said, you're going to need some bulky yarn. It's really dependent on the size. I give you a couple different sizes, so make sure you're looking at the pattern for the yardage. You're going to use an 8mm 16-inch circular. Unless you like DPNs, then you'll use that instead. I create a really easy crown so that you can do it with circulars. You don't need DPNs for decreasing. I can make it work, you can make it work, we can all get it done. But we're gonna just start with the brim, which is a really easy 1x2 rib. So it's 1 knit stitch and 2 purls. So I'll show you how to work that, and then we'll move on to the body. Okay, so we're going to cast on the number of stitches that the pattern's calling for the size you want to make. I'm just doing a simple long tail cast on. I'm going to do 2 more, and then I'm going to be ready to join in the round. So an easy way to make sure your stitches are not twisted is just lay down your needles, and I like to move all of the stitches to the inside so that I can easily see that they're all facing the same direction and that they're not twisted. So that helps me with round 1. So I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to place it on my needle, and then I'm going to begin round 1, which is a simple 1-2 rib. So what that means is I'm going to do 1 knit stitch, and then I'm going to do 2 purls. So I'm going to go ahead and knit the first stitch, purl the next 2, and continue that around. So knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2. So I'm going to keep doing that, and then we're going to do a few more rounds of that same ribbing till we get to our next stitch pattern. So continue on with this for the stated rounds in the pattern. Remember, you can download that pattern in the link below, and then we'll meet up for the next section. Okay, so we finished the brim. Now we're moving on to the body, and it's really just 2 different 6-row repeats or 6-round repeats. The first 6 are going to be a fake garter stitch because we are working in the round, so we can't just knit every round. So you're going to do some purling. I know some people like to skip the purling, but that's going to give you those ridges. Then we're going to do this stitch is popular with sock knitting. It's very good for heels, but you'll notice it almost looks like the ribbing, but it's got kind of closer together little ridges of knit. So it's just a really simple stitch that you're going to be amazed by, and you're going to want to use it all the time because it creates a really cool look, but it's super simple. It's like one of the easiest stitches ever. So I'm going to show you how to do those 2, and then we're going to move on to the crown and finish this thing off. Now that we've got the brim done, we're now moving on to our garter stitch rows. So it's going to be a little different than normal garter stitch because we're working in the round. So our first round, we are just going to knit all the way around, and then we'll do something I'm sure you'll probably already guess, but we'll go over it on the next round once we get all this knitting done. Okay, so we're almost done with the knitting of the first round, and to create our garter stitch, if we do knit stitch again, we're just going to end up with stockinette. So if you haven't guessed already, we're going to purl the next round. So we're going to purl all the way around, so that way we get a garter stitch looking base after the brim. So we're going to be doing this in between our other deep kind of V stitch that's going to come up in just a bit, but you're going to alternate knit and purl for the amount of rounds that it calls for in that pattern. So keep on going, and then we'll meet up for our deep V's in just a bit. Okay, we're ready to begin our next 2 row stitch repeat. So we just did our garter stitches, so we have our base, our garter, and now we're going to do our deep V's. So it's a 2 row repeat again, and the first row is super simple. We're just going to knit around. So once again, just some plain knitting. So we'll get through this round, and then we'll do the second round of the repeat, which is very easy as well, but just a little different. So let's get through this and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, we're just finishing up our first round of just knit stitches, and then we are ready for our special stitch, which is really simple. You're basically going to keep your yarn in the back, and you're going to slip your first stitch, then you're going to knit 1, and you're going to slip again. So the repeat is slip 1, knit 1, keeping your yarn in the back and slipping it as if to purl. You're going to slip and knit, and that's all you're going to do all the way around, and then repeat those 2 rounds. So a round of knit and then a round of slipping and knitting until you reach the amount of rounds that the pattern calls for. And then you're just going to repeat the garter stitch rows and then the slipping rows. We'll call these the slipping rows. So you'll keep doing that until the pattern tells you to stop, or until you want to stop. So you can make this fitted or you can make it slouchy. Just decrease the amount of rounds if you want it more fitted. Usually about 9 inches from the base to the top is a good fitted beanie, so you can kind of measure that if you want. Otherwise, keep on going, and then we'll meet up after we finish all these rounds for the finishing. Okay, you have finished the body. You're ready to move on to the crown, and it's a super easy crown. We're doing 2 rounds of just knit 2 together, and it's just going to decrease it really fast so that when you close your hole, it closes nice and tight, unlike if you were to just close it immediately without reducing or decreasing at all. But that kind of just helps to bind it all together really fast so you can sew it up. So I'll show you how to do that now, and then we'll come back and talk about customizing. Okay, we're almost to the end. We have all of our rounds made, and now we're going to work on the finishing rounds, which are basically really big decreasing. So we're just going to do knit 2 together all the way around for 2 full rounds, because we want to decrease it a lot before we run the yarn through our ends to close the hole. I love this kind of closing for beanies because it's just super simple and easy. So we're just doing basic knit 2 together, and we're going to do 2 rounds of that, and then we're going to take our yarn and run it through all of the loops that are still left open and close it down. So we'll come back at that point to show you how that's done, but do 2 rounds of knit 2 together. I just finished all my knit 2 togethers. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut the tail so that I can weave it in and close off this hole. So we're going to start from our last stitch and work our needle through all of these stitches on and work them off. I love the colors of this yarn and how it's turned out. It's a really cool kind of confetti look to me. Very carnival, like New Orleans. Feels like. Wasn't the name of this carnival? I don't remember. It might be. That might be why. Okay, and here's the last one. And then I am pulling that hole shut. You can see with those super decreases, it closes the hole nicely so that I don't have to really force it. If I had left all of the stitches on the needle, then it would have taken a little bit of extra effort to get that completely closed, but you can see like I barely pull on this and my hole is nice and closed. So I'm going to go ahead and weave in my ends, and then we are going to be done with this guy and ready for wearing. Okay, we finished the whole thing, and now you want to make a ton more for all your friends, all your guys, all your girls, because it's a great unisex pattern. So you need to know how to customize it to make it special for each person. So some ideas that you can do: reduce the brim. So you can see I have a really wide brim on mine because I have a huge forehead. So I made mine quite wide. You can half that if you want the design to be a little bit more on your forehead. You could double it and make it a fold-up beanie. You can change it up just to whatever length you actually would like it. You can make your 6-row repeats 8 rows, 10 rows if you want them more spread out. You can remove a couple of the repeats, or I would say like one, if you want a fitted beanie. So you can change it around if you want it really, like this one's really big. This one can actually, I put my whole head of hair in, and you can see I have a lot of hair. So I made this one extra big for winter to keep me really warm, because I'll be like just a big old ball head. But you can change it up really easy. You can alternate the colors, so you can make the garter ridges a different color and stripe it. I love this yarn that I found, and I'll link it in the description. It's such a cool kind of festive, I don't know, I just like how it looked and how it turned out. It does not show the design as prominent as a solid color would, but I wanted to show you kind of some options. So if you wanted to do a variegated, if you have a variegated where you're like, I don't know what to do with this yarn, it's just a weird kind of makeup, this could be a good idea because the stitches are very simple, so the color and the variegation kind of shines through. So there's some ideas, but that is our slouchy beanie. I'm Deja with Knit and Crochet Ever After. If you make one, tag me and show me what you made. I would love to see. Tag me on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. I want to see them all. But thank you all for watching.